Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Miller here with your Algebra 9 6.1 notes, day 1. We're going to start looking at properties of exponents here. So obviously you'll be able to use the properties of exponents to simplify our expressions here. So going back in here with a little warm-up here from like your pre-algebra days, substituting in using a calculator, but you need to know what the calculator is also doing here in the background. So obviously if we are doing a substitution of 3 in here, no problem. We put our 3 in there and it's to the 4th power, and then our calculator will automatically, calculate that for us. What we need to know is what is actually the power of 4. So most of you do know what that means. It means that I'm taking this 3 and multiplying it by itself 4 times. That's what the calculator is doing. It's going 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 4 times. Just like if I were to have a, we'll do another one here in a moment. You'll see that anytime you have that exponent, that's how many times you're multiplying that by. So plugging that into our calculator, 3 to the 4th is going to be an answer of 81. All right, just change my lighting to see if that works a little bit better here. Next one. So again, we're substituting in here. Now, super important, we've seen this before, where when you substitute into anything to a power, you have to put parentheses around it. So this whole thing is A. So we have to put the parentheses around that. So when I substitute this in, it's going to be parentheses, a minus 6, all of that squared, which again is the same as saying minus 6 times minus 6. And a negative times a negative is positive. 6 times 6 is 36. Same with the third one here. So again, we want to make sure that we get our parentheses put around this because this whole thing is m. So we're going to have parentheses minus 5 all the way to the third. And again, that's the same as saying minus 5 times minus 5 times minus 5. And again, so you can see what kind of sign you're going to have here. A minus times a minus is positive, and then times another minus is a negative. And then just 5 times 5 times 5 gives us 125 for that. So again, some key things that are very important when you're plugging in a minus sign into something with a power. Make sure you put your parentheses around it. All right, so some properties here. The first one is called the product of power property. Again, you don't need to have that memorized there, but what you do need to know is recognize when you should be using this and how to use this. So to multiply powers having the same base, you're going to add the powers together. So you're going to add the powers or exponents, whichever way you want to say it, together. I want to give you a little example here also in this box. So again, if I have, let's say, an a to the m, this is kind of the formula here, and we're multiplying that by an a to the n, that is going to clean up to the same base, a, and we add the powers together, m plus n. And then obviously we'd clean it up if we could clean it up. Considering m and n are different here in this formula, obviously we leave it just like that, a to the m plus n. So let's look at some numbers and cleaning those up using our power of properties here. So first things first, we got to make sure the bases are the same. Bases are both 4, so we can carry through with using the product of our powers property here. So simply our work will look like this, 4, and then we add the exponents together, and cleaning it up, we get 4 to the 13th. Some of these larger ones we'll just leave as 4 to the 13th because they get really, really large on our calculator and don't need to take the time to write those all out. So the big thing here is, if I did want you to use your calculator on this, yeah, anyone can use their calculator at that point. But we need to make sure that we can get the correct power on that base of 4. So it is going to be 4 to the 7th times 4 to the 6th is exactly the same as 4 to the 13th. Next one, we have 8 to the 5th. We have an 8 and an 8 to the 2nd. Remember, anytime you have a whole number or anything, it is always to the power of 1. So in this example here, all of our bases are the same. So we'll have 5 plus 1 plus 2, and that will come all the way out to 8 to the 8th. Again, final answer, final answer. There's 2 more here. We're going to give you a chance to practice those here in your notes. So go ahead and take a moment to clean those up. Don't have to take it any further, even though this is a little smaller one. Just get the power. So leave it as a power. And then this one, obviously, you're going to leave it as a power because we don't have any number in the base. Power of a power property. So to find a power of a power, you're going to multiply the powers together. Multiply the powers together. So what this looks like here, if I'm using my same letters as earlier, we'd have something like this. A to the mth, and all of that is to the nth power. Well, what's that going to clean up to be? That is going to clean up to be, we multiply them together. So that's going to be am times n as a final answer. So we actually multiply them together. So I'll show you here a couple examples using actual numbers as our powers. So first one here, we have 7 to the 4th, all of that to the 5th power. So what it looks like in our work is 7, and we multiply them. So 4 times 5. And then we clean it up from there. So this will become 7 to the 4 times 5 is 20th. And again, we'll leave it as a power there. Don't need to put that in your calculator because it's going to be a very large number. Next one, we really have to watch our brackets and our parentheses here to make sure that we don't mess up anything in that, because again, that could throw off whether we have a minus sign or a positive sign for the ending here. So this is saying that we're taking this minus 3, which is in parentheses, that is to the 4th power, and then you're taking that whole quantity there to the power of 2. So again, this is a power going to a power. So cleaning this up, we will have that minus 3. And then it becomes 4 times 2. And cleaning it up, we get a minus 3 that's in parentheses. All of that to the 4 times 2 is 8. One thing to note on this, I'm not going to put this on my calculator, but just looking forward here, when you have a negative sign, ladies and gentlemen, and it is to an even power, so if our negative sign is in parentheses and it's to an even power, your answer is always going to become positive when you clean this up. All right, so something to keep in mind there. If this is a negative number and we're taking it to an odd power, you're going to have a negative answer. Let's see, I think I'll let you do y by yourself. And then I just want to talk about this one, and we'll let you do it by yourself also. Again, this is all in parentheses. So this is my base. My base is n plus 8 here. So we're just cleaning it up here to that parenthesis there. So I'll let you take a moment to clean that one up and that one there. And we'll switch over to the other side. All right, power of a product property here. So to find the power of a product, we're going to find the power of each factor and then multiply. So you're going to find the power of each factor and then multiply. So again, if we had something, just real quick, if you had like an m and an n inside parentheses, and we took that to, let's just say the third power, which again, we're going to do a bunch of examples of this here in a moment anyway, that would split up. We're going to find the power. We're going to kind of use our distributive property. This becomes m to the third, n to the third. And then if we need to clean up anything after that point, we'd clean something up after that point. So actually I kind of stole this one here. So we'll see. We have part of that answer already taken care of. We just need to do the other part. So using the power of a product property here. So two ways that we actually can do this first one. Using the power of the product property, that means we need to distribute the 6 to everything that's being multiplied together. So cleaning this up, this is going to become 34 to the 6th multiplied by 9 to the 6th. So that's how we would distribute it out. Now, we'd actually clean that up. Another way to clean this up, ladies and gentlemen, is you can multiply these two numbers on the inside. So when we multiply those two numbers on the inside, 34 times 9, 34 times 9, that comes out to 306. And then we could have 306 to the 6th power there. So both of those are equivalent. For me, I would probably just leave it as this here. Ask Mr. Inch, ask Mr. Patel what they would like you to leave their answer in. So again, they might ask you to, go ahead and multiply those two numbers together and just take it to the 6th power. So your final answer would be 306 to the 6th. Working with the second one here. So again, that 3 goes to all of these. These are all being multiplied together. So kind of distribute that power of 3 throughout. So we have 4 to the 3rd power, m to the 3rd power, n to the 3rd power. And then, yes, this is a small one, so we can clean that up. So 4 to the 3rd power. And again, it's good to know your squares, also your cubes. Those are good to know moving forward through algebra and into geometry, and algebra 2 obviously after that. So we get 64, and then m to the 3rd, n to the 3rd. And there's my final answer. And we'd all clean it up that same way. Next one, again, distribute that out. So here, you really want to make sure that you don't drop off your parentheses, all right? Because if you drop off your parentheses, that's going to change your answer. So there are parentheses. You can just put parentheses around both of these inside the parentheses, but they haven't put them in here. So when we distribute this, this is going to be a -2 inside parentheses to the 4, and then g to the 4th. And like I said before, anytime you have a negative sign, that's going to turn into a positive when it's inside the parentheses, and it's a power that is even. So again, this one we are going to clean up because it's a nice small number. 2 to the 4th power is 16. Again, that was a negative times a negative times a negative times a negative, which does become a positive 16, and we get g to the 4th. And then we're going to do one more here, just because of the minus sign. None of these are quite the same here. They're all a little different. So here, the square is only around the parentheses of 5x, so that will only be distributed to a positive 5 and an x. That minus sign stays out in front. So that minus sign is out front. I can drop my parentheses because this was not a negative 5 inside the parentheses, so we just have 5 squared, and then we have x squared. Again, no parentheses, and this is where people make mistakes. So that square only goes to a positive 5, and we're carrying along that multiplication of minus. All right, this is like a -1 in front of this equation. All right, so that minus comes along with us. 5 squared is 25, and then we have x squared to wrap it up for our final answer. And then our quotient of powers property. To divide powers having the same base here, we're going to subtract their powers. Or if you want to say exponents, we can say exponents in there also. So as an example here, actually, we can kind of, we'll just do it, jump into them here, because there's enough examples down here. So if we're dividing powers that have the same base, both have 9s, the rule is, actually, you know what, let's go ahead and write one up here. So if I had an a to the m, and we're dividing a to the n, we'll give you a little formula here. That's going to come out to this, ladies and gentlemen. The base stays the same, and then you subtract the top one from the bottom one. So you take that a, and then it's m, top power, subtract the bottom one. That's what we're talking about when we were subtracting their powers. And then obviously clean up from there. So in this first one here, my base is exactly the same, so it's 9. So I would take the top number first, and I'm subtracting the bottom number, and that's a 5. And again, another way to look at this here, and I'm going to do a little bit more on this one because it's a lot less numbers. I'll show you a little more on this. There's 12 of these 9s on top. There's 5 of these 9s on the bottom. So we're canceling out each other. And I'll show you that here on this one because there's less writing. But here's our formula, 9 to the 12th minus 5, and our final answer is going to be 9 to the 7th. And we'll leave it just like that. Here, like I said, this is what I'm going to expand. So what does this mean? This means I have a -2 times a -2 times a -2 times a -2. That is all over a -2 times a -2 times a -2. Remember, that means there's 4 of those. There's the 4. That means there's 3 of them. There's the 3. And then when we're cleaning up fractions, just like you did in like pre-algebra, you can cancel things that are on the top and bottom when you're multiplying. So again, this -2 cancels out that -2. That -2 cancels out that one. That one cancels out that one. And we're only left with 1, which you'll see here. Here's my formula. -2 to the parentheses was my base. 4 minus 3, well, that comes out to -2 to the first, which that is what that is. And that just is a -2 answer. So all of this cleans up to -2. So again, I could have done that over here in this first one too. I could have wrote out 9 12s and 9 5s on the bottom and then canceled them until we got down to just 7 9s on the top. Compounding our work here a little bit. So again, bringing these together, and that's the whole end goal here, is that you can use all of these properties in a question. So I'm going to need to multiply first here, then I'll take care of my division. So again, multiplication rule there is for the property, we keep the same base and we add our exponents together. So again, this will look like this. This becomes 6, 3 plus 4, all over 6 to the second. and that cleans up to 6 to the 7th all over 6 to the 2nd. Then the second rule kicks in. The bases are the same, so that becomes 6 to the 7th minus 2, and then 7 minus 2 is 6 to the 5th, and we'll leave it just like that. One more together, and then we'll let you do the last two. Try those on your own there. So here, remember that r to the 8th is over 1. So we're actually multiplying fractions here. So that is on top of a fraction, because we don't normally put the over 1 here, but it is. Excuse me, it is there. So when you multiply fractions across the top, those get multiplied together and then across the bottom. So cleaning this up, this is going to turn out to be r to the 8th over r to the 5th. And then again, that comes out to r8 minus 5, and we get r to the 3rd as our final answer there. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out to us or sign up for our office hours. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen.